Everyone loves a parade. Parades bring excitement into our lives. Maybe we enjoy parades so much because life itself is like a parade. All human history is a parade through time. But in the parade of life, we can't just sit on the sidelines and watch. There are no mere spectators. Everyone is a participant. There are those who have marched ahead of us, who were once where we are now. And there are those who follow behind us, who will someday take our place. The names and faces change, but life goes on. The St. Mary Magdalen Parade began in 1912 when Archbishop John Glennon commissioned Father Joseph Felig to establish a parish for the people of Brentwood. The first order of business was to find a suitable location for the celebration of Mass. The Reynolds Building on the northwest corner of North and South Road and Russell Avenue was secured and remodeled to be used as a rectory and church. The first Mass was celebrated March 17th. Originally, Brentwood had been called Maddenville, after Thomas Madden, its founder. He operated a rock quarry on Manchester Road, which was a dirt road in those early days. He sold rock to the community. He laid out many of the roads himself. Brentwood Boulevard was called North and South Road, and it too was a dirt road. All provisions had to be carried by wagon from St. Louis. At that time, Maddenville consisted of a tavern, a barber shop, a post office, a general store, and on the northeast corner there was a blacksmith shop, and behind that was a playground where young men played baseball. Father Felig approached Tom Madden and asked him to donate the blacksmith shop site for a permanent church and school. Mr. Madden agreed to donate the land, but it wasn't enough. So an additional 5.5 acres were purchased from Mr. Madden. In September, a hall was built on the site at a cost of $811. On June 8, 1913, the church moved across the street to a building that was used for storing grain by Mr. Madden. This was not satisfactory, since the Mass was often interrupted by the passenger train that passed by a mere 25 feet from the building. Also, the site tended to flood during heavy rains. Then the parishioners had to walk the plank into the front door from higher ground. Finally, during the big flood of 1915, the church was moved to a hall across the street that had been previously built. Father Felig himself tended to move around during these years. But finally, in 1917, a permanent rectory was built on North and South Road, and it cost $7,000. In the spring of 1922, ground was broken for a 2-story brick school. It cost $40,000, and school opened the following September with 120 students under the tutelage of the Dominican sisters. There were originally 3 classrooms, with a 4th added the following year. It was a difficult task to cram so many students into so little space, but the sisters met the challenge with patience and perseverance. The second floor of the building was used as an auditorium. This was the beginning of a fine work in which the parishioners have always taken great pride. Under the leadership of the Dominican sisters, the school flourished, and by 1937, the school enrollment had reached 204. The number of sisters had also increased, and so a convent was built for the sisters. In 1929, the old hall that had been used as a church became unsafe. The floor collapsed during a 40-hour closing, so the church was moved to the second-floor auditorium, where it remained for 18 years. In June 1929, Father Ray Wildering was appointed to assist Father Felig. And in 1931, he was replaced by Father Bernard Wegman. The participation of members of the black community in St. Mary Magdalen Church began in 1932 when Herbert Witt became interested in the Catholic faith. He, his wife Lucy, their children, and some of their neighbors, over 30 people in all, were baptized by Father Wegman. But it was a struggle for them to achieve full membership in the parish due to many instances of hurtful discrimination.
My father was the instigator of the community for joining the Catholic Church, St. Mary Magdalen, with the help and the assistance of Father Bernard Wegman, the assistant pastor at St. Mary Magdalen. We then began to come into the church. We had to sit in the back, the very back of the church. We, after making our communion and being circumvented, we then still had to sit in the back. The kids could not go to school there.
Under the leadership of Father Felig, many parish organizations were established. There was the Ladies' Sodality in 1912, St. Vincent de Paul 1922, Men's Association 1933, and Young Folks' Sodality 1931. But Father Felig's health deteriorated. He had crippling arthritis, and he was confined to a wheelchair. During this time, the parish had grown from 45 parishioners the first year to 300 families at the time of the Silver Jubilee. Father Felig had been pastor for 29 years. He had laid the groundwork for what would follow later. But by November 1941, he felt that he was no longer able to bear the responsibility for the parish. He had to step aside, and he died a month later. Father Gerald McMahon succeeded Father Felig as pastor. Father McMahon came from Holy Rosary Parish, where he had served as an assistant for 18 years. He loved sports and was a great fan of the Cardinal baseball team. They even made him their unofficial chaplain. He also made annual pilgrimages to South Bend, Indiana for Notre Dame football games. He was known by parishioners to be a kind and generous person. Immediately, he saw the need to build a new church and rectory. Groundbreaking ceremonies took place on Palm Sunday, 1942. But the project was put on hold due to the war. Then, on May 17th, the building of the church was further compromised when Father McMahon had a heart attack, and recuperation took many months. In August 1944, Father McMahon received good news. Postmaster General Robert Hannikin and Congressman John Cochran, both close personal friends of his, pulled a few strings, and permission was granted by the government to begin construction of the new church and rectory. On January 15, 1945, groundbreaking for the rectory took place. The old rectory was demolished, and the priests moved across the street to the home of Dr. Clifford Bockelman, who was in service at the time. The cornerstone of the church was laid by Bishop John Cody, with Archbishop Glennon presiding, on November 11, 1945. Father McMahon had envisioned his church as an imposing structure standing on the crossroads of the community, where it would give glory to God and be a source of beauty and inspiration to all. His dream was fulfilled on May 25, 1947. The final cost of the church and rectory was $280,000. Half of the money was borrowed from the archdiocese. A pledge drive had previously been inaugurated in 1946 to help reduce the parish debt. The church, designed by Maurice Carroll and built by M.J. Lawler, general contractor, was built of Bedford stone in modern Gothic style. The altar and platform is built from a variety of marbles. The remainder of the church is trimmed in white oak. The tabernacle was a gift from the school children. The window above the main entrance was donated by Postmaster General Robert Hannikin as a memorial to his parents, John and Anna Hannikin. The main feature of the sanctuary is the large painting by Lino Lipinski, inspired by events from the life of St. Mary Magdalene. One of Father McMahon's early projects was the St. Mary Magdalene Messenger. This little publication came out about once a month, and it was a combination of news about the parish and feature articles. But by far, the most interesting part of the magazine was the list of parishioners and their contributions in descending order. In spite of a weakened condition due to failing health, Father McMahon continued on the best he could, always cheerful. With the help of his assistants, he continued to guide the parish with a steady hand until his death, which came suddenly on February 12, 1960. His funeral was one that made the parish proud, as it was celebrated by his brother, Monsignor Joseph McMahon, and 4 bishops, along with many of his brother priests in the church that he had so ably built and in which he had taken such great pride. Father Thomas Durkin was appointed pastor in June 1960. He quickly realized the need for a new school. 600 children were jammed into the old building. An intensive financial tithing program was launched, and the parishioners responded with their usual generosity.
My memories of the old school, dark brick building, and it was big, at least from the perspective of a small child. And I remember that the classrooms were very crowded. We had 600, almost 700 students in grades 1 through 8. So, that averages out to 40 to 50, sometimes 60 in a classroom. The old school, I remember it being torn down. I remember the wrecking ball. And even for a while I had a little piece of the red brick, which has now since been disintegrated. But it was a memorable day watching that building be torn down.
By January 1962, the school was finished and ready for occupancy. 660 smiling children and their excited teachers filed into the new school. The completed cost of the new school and gym was $450,000. The event closely corresponded with the 50th anniversary of the parish, so the blessing of the school and the Golden Jubilee were celebrated together on June 3rd, with Cardinal Ritter doing the honors.
We moved into our new school when I was in 7th grade. It was about February, I believe. It was mid-year. And it was a beautiful building, bright, airy. But we filled it. Again, we had 700 students, and the classrooms were full. We had 2 rooms for every grade, 1 through 8, no kindergarten. And I remember Monsignor Durkin was very intent that the school remain clean and neat and new-looking and in good order. So it was demanded of us that the desk, and again each room was wall-to-wall desk, could be no further apart than 1 inch. It had to be exactly 1 inch and on a straight line. We couldn't put anything on the walls, either in our classrooms or outside in the hall, because Monsignor didn't want any tape or putty or anything to mess up the paint job. And when we walked from room to room, which was in silence, single file, we had to walk towards the center of the hallways because he didn't want us near the walls where we might touch it or mar the walls with our feet or anything.
He decided that he would start a group that would sort of cause the families to get together and be more cordial to each other and be more like friends. And so he started a program that they called Home Visit. And I'm not sure, but I think that it started in other churches also, and after we got ours started. And we were the home base because he chose us for the people to come to our house, and when they came, they would talk about ways and means of getting along with each other, and knowing that simply because we were black, we didn't live in shanties and that we had a tore-up home or anything like that. So our home was the first home that was to be visited. And the Hardenbachs and the Stolwicks and the Guilfoys and Jerry Privis and his wife. There were lots of parishioners that were our age that would come here, and we would talk and just sort of socialize with each other. And it did make a difference.
The 1960s brought great changes in the liturgy through the Second Vatican Council, and it was up to Monsignor Durkin to see that these were implemented. In his wisdom, this was done gradually. In 1964, a temporary altar was installed so that the priest could face the congregation. In 1967, the entire sanctuary was remodeled to conform with church guidelines. Monsignor Durkin realized that the Second Vatican Council was more than just rearranging the furniture in the sanctuary. If the Second Vatican Council was going to be effective, it had to bring about a change of heart. So in 1965, Operation Renewal was introduced to the parish. 400 parishioners took part. They met in one another's homes, and there they began to realize what it meant to be church. Old organizations were revitalized. New ones sprang into being, and the parish council became the core of the parish structure. St. Mary Magdalen has had many wonderful associate priests throughout the years, but one that has had an impact upon the parish that is unique is Father Margan Casey. After 3 years, he volunteered for the Archdiocesan mission in Bolivia. The parish pledged to support him in this endeavor. In 1984, he was made a bishop. This financial help has continued to this day, and there exists a special bond between Bishop Casey and the people of St. Mary Magdalen. Monsignor Durkin became increasingly plagued with a problem involving his vocal cords. Because he felt that he could no longer effectively do the work, he asked to be reassigned to a smaller parish. So in June 1975, the parishioners reluctantly said goodbye to a man whose steady hand for 15 years had guided them through enormous changes. He had not only built a new school and gymnasium, which today bears his name, but the parish had been renewed. Father James Finley arrived that same month to become the 4th pastor of the parish. He immediately won the hearts of the parishioners by his friendly and kindly manner.
I had been scheduling and training the Eucharistic ministers, and when Father Mahalia was leaving, he had been scheduling the readers and doing the training. So I volunteered to Father Finley that I would take that over too. I had been a reader, and said kind of offhandedly, and if you ever need a permanent deacon, consider me for that, because there had just been an article in the Review about the first class of permanent deacons being ordained. And I thought nothing more of it until the following week when the application forms were given to me by Father Finley to complete. And of course that was some 18 years ago.
My father passed away, and I had gone to a funeral luncheon that his parish had given him. And I came back and I told Father Finley about it and said, I'd like to do this. Could we do it? And he was like, sure, great. Well, at the time, the Dominicans were still living in the convent, and with the help of Sister Pat and Sister Mary Carroll, Gail Wallach, and Mary Ellen Dymeke, Father Finley gave us the go-ahead, and we began having funeral luncheons for everyone that had a funeral from St. Mary Magdalen. So when I look back, I think that Father Finley was definitely a gift to our parish. He opened the door for the funeral luncheons and for getting people involved and caring about other parishioners in times of needs.
In 1983, Father Finley was beginning to feel weary of the heavy responsibilities in such a fast-paced parish. His health had deteriorated, and so he requested that he be assigned to a smaller parish. He had been a good pastor for the people of St. Mary Magdalen. He had not constructed any buildings, but he had built community. In June 1983, Father John Kilcullen was appointed pastor. He always had a smile and loved to tell jokes and stories.
I guess you heard about the two Greeks. One Greek man walked into a Greek tailor shop, and he said to the tailor, "Eumenides?" And the tailor said, "Euripides?" The other one now, I don't know if you know, but about a year or so ago, Bishop Desmond Tutu of Johannesburg, South Africa, came to the United States, and he made a tour. At that time, they found out that he had relatives here in the United States, in the state of Tennessee. Of course, they're known as the Chattanooga Tutus.
Anniversary. There was a group of ladies, and they were acting like they were baking a cake that they lit with 75 candles on at the end. And the ladies had little sips of wine in the school cafeteria waiting for their song to come on and waiting to go on stage. And a couple of them were kind of tipsy, and in the middle of this song, something I knew you were coming, I baked a cake. Two of them fell off the back of the stage, and we had to get them back up on the stage. I don't know if it sounds funny now, but it was then. I also remember singing I Ain't Got a Barrel of Money, wearing a barrel. I wore a barrel and my husband wore a barrel. Everybody thought we didn't have clothes on underneath, and I had a leotard on and he had trunks. And somebody has that on video, and I'd really like to find it and get rid of it because it was pretty embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. Brother Kilcullen became our pastor, and when he came here, within 3 weeks, he said, "We will have a care here," which was Christian service, our Christian action really evident. And he put a notice in the bulletin, if you're interested in serving others, please come to this organizational meeting. He made a few phone calls, and I believe there were 13 of us that met at the first meeting. And Jerry Privis, Mary Ellen Dymeke, myself, my husband, among, Millie Jost and many others put together care. And basically my husband was supposed to be in charge of it with Jerry Privis and Mary Ellen. And it grew so fast within 2 weeks. We had so many care calls we didn't know what to do. And my husband traveled, and I ended up taking a lot of the care calls. And so that's how care kind of came about. I remember also Father Kilcullen said, "You'll have parish giving tree." And he led the way. He told us what you do. You put names on tags and, this sort of thing. And so we did the giving tree. Father K, I think he took up where Father Finley led off. He helped us identify people with needs, and then he showed us ways that we could answer those needs. For me personally, and for a lot of people like me, Father Kilcullen helped us find out that we could take some of this stored up talent, energy, I don't know what, love for God, love for other people, and put it to good use, and put it to answering the needs that Father Finley and Monsignor Durkin had asked us all to identify. So coming out of Vatican II, all three of these pastors encouraged us in different ways to be more active laity, be more active in working with the priesthood, in working with our pastors and our associate pastors. And I think those three pastors paved the way for what we are now.
By 1994, Father Kilcullen had become so incapacitated that he could hardly carry on. He had to step aside. I succeeded him. When I first came here, I was very much impressed with this parish because I realized that it was a parish with a heart. The care organization, which was very unique in the diocese at that time, and St. Vincent de Paul were very active in reaching out to the poor. When I first arrived, I had 2 full-time associates. Then the following year, I was reduced to 1. When Father Don Burr became my associate, he was with me for 2 years. He did much to deepen the spiritual life of the parish, and he was able to revitalize the Legion of Mary. He also created a parish welcoming committee. Father Burr became pastor of Our Lady of Fatima Parish, and he was replaced by Father Michael Witt, who remained with me for 9 years. Although his principal job was to teach in the seminary, he proved to be very helpful in stimulating the social life of the parish through his culinary skills. He also had a witty personality and gave thought-provoking homilies. As the population shifted gradually away from families to younger adults with fewer children, the school population gradually fell. However, the quality of the school improved greatly as more and more staff were added. To get this kind of quality education, the parents had to make great financial sacrifices. And it's a credit to them, as well as to the parish at large, that our school is one in which we can take great pride. The PSR program also flourished through the help of dedicated parishioners. The Athletic Association supplemented the education of the children by providing a full sports program for all the children of the parish. There was much that was done by volunteer help. People were always coming forward to share their talents whenever there was a need. The Martha organization was formed to bring meals to the rectory on a regular basis. What kind of dog do you have?
Boxer.
A boxer. Are you nervous? Well, I am. A boxer. Can your dog beat you up? Huh? He doesn't? Is he a fighter? What's his name? Tyson. Did you hear that? Tyson. He's got a boxer named Tyson? Wonder where that name came from. Is he a nice dog?
Yes.
Do you love your dog? How much do you love your dog? A lot? Could you show us here with your hands, maybe? Oh, okay, that's great. Look at that. This is how much he loves his dog. That's about as wide as you can get, isn't it? Huh? Evan, do you know what? No, keep him out there. Do you know what you look? You know who you look like? Turn around. Look up there. Look, Jesus has his arms out just like you've got your arms out, huh? See, on the cross. Yeah, you can put him down now. Do you think maybe that's what he's doing, is showing us? For many years, we have been a living sign of Christ's presence in this community. While we are grateful to those who have given us yesterday, we realize that what we have accomplished today will also be remembered, for we have made a contribution that is uniquely our own. But we have only just begun. The parish of tomorrow will build on what we have given it, so that tomorrow, like today, in a style of its own creation, will continue to march as a living sign of Christ. I was succeeded by Monsignor Gene Morris in June of 2009. Monsignor Morris was excited to become pastor of St. Mary Magdalen since he grew up in the parish and graduated from St. Mary Magdalen School. He had his first Mass at St. Mary Magdalen Church in June of 1995. In a relatively short time, he accumulated much experience as a teacher in the seminary and administrator of the deacon program. But he was only remained pastor for 1 year, because in July of 2010, he was appointed to the Pontifical College Josephinum in Columbus, Ohio. and he was succeeded by Father Jack Seifert.
Well, you've just seen a wonderful description of a parish alive in Christ for the past 100 years. It is an honor and a privilege to be the pastor here, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this wonderful video history of St. Mary Magdalene. As the video shows, the parish has been here for 100 years. It was founded and formed by hard work and the good faith of so many individuals and by the good leadership of so many pastors. It is an honor and somewhat humbling to be sitting in the chair of being a pastor following such good men who have worked so hard with such good parishioners to make this place so viable and good. For the next 100 years, we'll do the best we can listening to God and evangelizing His voice, and we'll let God direct where the parish goes for the next 100 years. But to all who have made the past 100 years so good, a sincere thank you to you, and prayers that with hopefully good direction and guidance and listening to the Spirit, as I said, the next 100 years will be filled with energy and enthusiasm and hope to preach the Word of God, which is just essential for our lives.